Welcome back to 94 Feet, ladies and gentlemen. Cade Cameron, Danny Stepanovich, as usual. And I know we teased a little bit on Twitter in the bio a little bit, but of course, we got some big trades today. Something that I wasn't expecting to happen today, but of course, something that was, I think, expected by a lot of people to happen right before that trade deadline. And of course, that's the Kyrie Irving news. No big surprise there. It's easily one of the biggest trades this season so far. I'd make the argument between last offseason and this trade deadline, one of the biggest acquisitions by a team. So some big moves there. But Danny, of course, got to start off like usual. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Cade. Woke up to some crazy NBA news. Cade, out of the three major professional sports leagues, NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB, whatever, I think NBA puts out the best product. I love the drama. I can't wait for playoff basketball. It's going to be must-watch TV in the West, in the East. So I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How are you doing?
Man, I'm alive. I'm doing well. That's all I can ask for. You know what I mean? So, no, that's really all I can ask for. But as mentioned, we'll get into it right away. Of course, we got to talk about Kyrie going to the Dallas Mavericks, one of the biggest trades in recent memory when it comes to this trade deadline. Of course, we've got to talk a little bit about that Magic Wolves brawl a few nights ago. That was some intense stuff. It feels like that was the first time we saw a brawl that big since Cat and Joel Embiid were going at it. Obviously, Danny, you want to talk about your Lakers a little bit, so we'll give you that time there. We'll go to Fit of the Week, and then we'll finish it off with something we haven't done in a while, but that's a February Copper Drop. A sneaky good rotation this month for February, at least on the Sneakers app. But we'll get right into it. So of course, as mentioned, Kyrie Irving going to the Dallas Mavericks. Trade sell Kyrie and Markieff Morris going to the Dallas Mavericks. Nets are in return getting Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie. I'm not going to get in too much depth about the draft picks. Danny, first off, I just want to get your thoughts on it. I know we talked about it a little bit pre-show, but didn't really have too much time to elaborate on it. What are you thinking about this trade, especially sitting as a Lakers fan who had such high hopes about getting somebody like Kyrie Irving on your team before this trade deadline, and him now going to a Western Conference team for the first time in his career? And it's also a Western Conference team that looks to be trying to do what they can to put themselves in the NBA Finals this year.
Lots of breakdown. I'll get into the Lakers later, but I guess we can start with the Mavs. Breaking down what this means. First initial reaction to the trade, it feels a little bit desperate. I think if we're just looking at what the Mavs has done the past year, they letting Jalen Brunson walk after this team goes to the Western Conference Finals with Brunson, Doncic. They kind of run out of gas. Brunson signs with the Knicks 4 years, $105 million, I believe, and now they're bringing in Kyrie Irving, who all season we've been saying the Mavs kind of haven't built the best team around Doncic so far. We kind of want some more. I like the move, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's gonna work. We'll get into that a little bit later, but Kyrie could walk, and if he does stay, if they do sign Kyrie, it's going to be the 4-year, $198 million max. If we're just comparing contracts, Brunson 4 years, $100 million, Kyrie 4 years, $200 million. I don't know if that's just me, but I would much rather be paying Brunson for half that price, Cade.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. I think it goes without saying that you look at Kyrie's history, especially after he left Cleveland, going to the Boston Celtics, going to the Brooklyn Nets. It's been such a weird history for Kyrie Irving. I mean, it's whether it's off the court issues, whether it's injury, just on court, just being the personality he is. It's a very weird dynamic to see him being traded to out west. Not really sure what he's going to do in a Dallas Mavericks uniform. As you mentioned, a bit of a desperation move by the Dallas Mavericks, which makes perfect sense. I mean, you're getting him with the possible intention of trying to re-sign him for a long-term deal, but it does seem like the Dallas Mavericks are trying to do what they can to try winning a championship this year. And I agree. I don't think Kyrie Irving is that real answer for that. It's hard to see somebody like Kyrie Irving just switch teams, going from one superstar in Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets to a superstar in the Dallas Mavericks, who obviously Luke has proven himself consistently, but you look at the way his personality is. I mean, the fact that if Katie and Kyrie can't really mesh the way that a lot of people are expecting, there's no way that Luka and Kyrie are going to mesh the any different way. So It's going to be interesting to see how this trade plays out. It's going to be interesting to see where the Dallas Mavericks go after this season, assuming that they don't make it to the NBA Finals, they don't win the NBA Finals with Kyrie Irving on that team. I will say I will disagree a little bit with the statement saying that they didn't really build around Luka this offseason. They didn't. I feel like they could have done a lot more, and I think a lot of teams would be willing to say that they would be willing to do a lot more for the superstars on their team. But they go out and get Christian Wood, somebody who I thought was going to be the sixth man of the year. I don't think that's happening anymore because Christian Wood is starting to see more consistent minutes as a starting player. He's putting up good numbers. I mean, the most consistent player on that team outside of Luka Doncic. The addition of Kyrie Irving, it's big. It's a big time thing right here. But of course, as mentioned, it does feel like desperation. It does feel like they're trying to do something to push for a finals run right now and almost throw away the team they have to try winning it this year in general. You know what I mean?
And the thing is, even though they are desperate, I can't really blame them. I mean, Dallas, not that big of a market for free agency. Just off the top of my head, I can't really think of big time free agents that signed with Dallas. A few that come to mind: Harrison Barnes, Wesley Matthews. I can't really think of too many. So to get out Kyrie Irving is still a big deal for them. I think this still puts them at top, like as a top 5 team, just because offensively they're going to be deadly. Kyrie has played the number 2 role in Cleveland. You can argue in Brooklyn as well, behind KD. And it has worked. So I'm expecting this move to work this season. Come playoff time, though, I mean, if we're just looking back last year on that run the Mavs go in the playoffs, taking down your Suns, it was mostly Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith, the 2 best defenders that were tasked with stopping down Devin Booker. Now we look at this projected starting lineup for the Mavs. We got Kyrie at the 1. He doesn't scare anyone defensively. He's always getting cooked in the pick and roll. Luka Doncic, someone who is targeted in the playoffs come playoff time for those defensive matchups. It looks like Reggie Bullock is going to slot into that 3 role. I think he's averaging 6 points a game. A couple years ago when he was on Lakers, I was calling him Reggie Bull. You know what? He's shooting 39% from the field. He's okay, but Dorian Finney-Smith was, I don't know. I like him so much more than Bullock. You got Dwight Powell at the 4 now. Powell last year in the playoffs was played off the court. I know he's putting up pretty good stats, as a solid big man, but last year in the playoffs, 6 games with 0 points. Christian Wood, great offensive player. Defensively, again, lacking. I mean, that's kind of what he lacks in defense. So is this team going to be able to get stops when it matters most in the playoffs? They're going up against Jokic, Jamal Murray with the Nuggets, the Clippers. With they don't really have wing defenders to guard Paul George and Kawhi. You can throw the Suns out there when they're healthy. Warriors are a team I'm still taking over this Mavs team. So what's your reaction to that? As I think they're improving, but it can't be by too much, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. You're bringing another superstar, but you're losing 2 guys that are actually going to be able to lock it down on the defensive side. I mean, you look at this, it almost seems like the Mavs are turning themselves into a glorified Sacramento Kings in the sense that now have a team that might be able to go out there, put up buckets consistently every game. But on the defensive side, that's, again, as you mentioned, not going to be able to get stops, especially in the postseason when getting stops is the one thing that really separates a team from winning the NBA Finals and losing in the first round. So it'll be interesting to see, again, how this overall just plays out. I think chemistry in general is going to be the biggest factor in this. I don't see Luka and Kyrie getting along, in my opinion. Like as mentioned, it just seems like Kyrie's had a really hard time meshing with any team he's been in. The fact that you now have a character like Luka on that team, who's the leader in general, and then you bring in somebody like Kyrie, I don't think Kyrie's going to want to listen to what Luka has to say. He's not going to want to have to listen to what the floor plan that Luka has been able to run out here in Dallas as a leader of this team. Now, of course, you can always mention.
I'll hop in here, Cade, real quick.
Yeah,
I think this season we will see a good Kyrie. I think he's heading into the offseason with a contract in mind. He's playing for a contract, so I actually do think up until May, whenever they get knocked out in the playoffs, or who knows, they might win it all. I think we're going to see a good soldier in Kyrie just because of that contract. I think it's going to be in the future that it's going to come back and bite them because, I mean, do we have to go down the list of all the franchises Kyrie has screwed over? I don't think we have to, right?
Yeah, no. Well, in that case, do you think Dallas is going to try making the effort to re-sign him?
I think
Because
they have to.
you think they have to?
I mean, to let him walk after 6 months, because I don't think they're going to win a championship. You trade two solid role players, a first round and a second round pick. I think it is, Cade, right? Two
Yeah,
is
yeah.
it
I
two
mean, like, I think, yeah, you're right. I
for a
think they do
rental?
put themselves in a position where, well, yeah, I mean, you're right. I think that they're going to try making the effort to try re-signing him, but I think I don't know. I don't think Kyrie just doesn't give me the vibes that he wants to play in a team like Dallas, or I just don't see him wanting to be there long term. I think this is a position where he wanted to be traded away, but I don't think anybody thinks that Dallas was going to be on that, or I don't think he was expecting to have Dallas on that list of teams that are actually interested in trying to go out and get him and try making ends meet with him by the time he actually does come up to his contract in the offseason, or if maybe they sign up before the season ends, something like that. I think I don't know. I can't see it happening in my opinion. Like I maybe just because
I don't
it's
know.
weird to
I
think
think
about.
I also don't think Kyrie's market is that enormous. I don't think that many teams are going to be going out and trying to get him. Besides maybe the Lakers. I don't know. I just don't know that many teams that are going to be willing to give him that 250 that $200 million max extension. And I mean, if the Mavs are trading for him, I don't see why they wouldn't offer that.
Yeah, no, I could see that. I mean, they outside of Luca, they have the money to do it. Now, I mean, we've mentioned a little bit, and this might be getting a little bit too deep, but we have talked about the idea of Kyrie Irving possibly looking at retirement within the near future. It didn't really seem like that far of a stretch when he was suspended back in December. Do you think that's a possibility of happening after the season, if seeing the way things are playing out? You think he's still going to stick around?
Like I said, I think he's going to be a good soldier. I don't think we're going to see any anti-vax, any flat Earth stuff for the next 6 months. I think Kyrie's gonna, it's gonna be a new scenery. Seeing him matched up in the playoffs against Steph, some of the top guards, Steph, De'Aaron Fox, Chris Paul, Devin Booker. I think that's gonna be fun to see, and I think we're gonna see a good Kyrie that's ready to play basketball. They're gonna give him the $200 million, and then who knows what's gonna happen? Because Mark Cuban, he's one of the one of those owners one of the only owners in the NBA that's out doing interviews. Just really, it seems like a really good guy, one of the best owners. And I don't know if Kyrie's gonna like that. In Brooklyn, he went a couple weeks without talking to Joe Tsai after who knows what it was. I can't even remember. So I don't know. I just don't think it's gonna work out in the future. But this season, I think the Mavs are gonna have a good Kyrie, and they're gonna bounce in the playoffs because I don't think they'll be able to get stops.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that they're going to put themselves in the same position as I said earlier, as the Kings are, where they're not going to get stops by the time the postseason comes around. I agree with you there. I mean, yeah, it's going to be fun to see. I mean, thinking about it now, seeing the matchups you're going to see with Kyrie out west, obviously playing the Lakers, playing the Suns, Warriors, Nuggets, all those great teams. It's going to be fun to see him like play those Western Conference teams. That's going to be a lot of fun. But switching gears, obviously we talked about the Dallas Mavericks. What about the Nets here? I mean, you talked about Dorian Finney-Smith. You talked about Spencer Dinwiddie going back to Brooklyn. What are their contributions going to mean to the Brooklyn Nets right now? And do you really see the Nets still continuing at their pace they're going at the fourth overall seed in the East and a chance to possibly make a push for the NBA Finals, even if let's just go with the fact that they don't trade Kevin Durant in this situation. What goes on there for the Nets then?
So if they're not trading injured Kevin Durant right now, I think Joe Tsai is going to go all in, and I don't think this is if they're set on keeping KD. I think they're going to make another move before Thursday, because I look back at this roster, top to bottom, it's still one of the best rosters, and right now they're kind of just missing a number two, which they shipped off. Kyrie, KD didn't work out. I'm just looking at their record with Kyrie since 2019, 81 and 60 and 61. That's a 57 game winning percentage. Without Kyrie, he's dealt with injuries, sitting out, anti-vax. He's missed a lot of games. So we have a big sample size. 77-58 without Kyrie. That's a 57% winning percentage. I still think they have uh, a great roster. I mean, we've talked about the shooters they have, and now they have picks. They have a 2027 first round pick from the Mavs. They also have a 2027 Sixers pick, which should be pretty valuable because by 2027, who knows where Embiid and James Harden's going to be? That team could be old. They could be rebuilding by then. So they do have, and they have a lot of assets. Joe Harris, another guy teams are going to be trying to trade for. Seth Curry. So I'm expecting them to make another move, and for them to stay in the mix, really, because as turbulent as this offseason has been for the Nets, they're sitting fourth in the East right now. That's over the Cavs. That's over the Heat, who were the 1 seed last year. Hawks, Knicks, Bulls. So I don't know. I'm expecting them to do something.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think with the Nets, just in my opinion, that all comes down to if Kevin Durant's healthy. Obviously, I mean, it plays more into that role now, especially since Kyrie Irving's gone. Kevin Durant's that true number one. They're going to have to rely so heavily on him to actually make a really deep run in this postseason if they are able to make a deep run in general. But I look at this team. I agree. I think that you now talk about taking Kyrie Irving out. KD is going to be that true leader. He's going to be the leading. He's going to be the one leading this team completely. I don't think there's a player on that team that's really going to give him any issues. Yeah, I mean, maybe Ben Simmons, but even then, you haven't heard much about Ben Simmons at all ever since he got traded to the Nets. He hasn't been playing well, obviously, but he had a good stretch, back in November or something like that. But outside of that, you're not talking about a team that's really going to go out there and have those two butting heads between two superstars, like I think is going to happen in Dallas at some point. The addition of Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith, it'll be interesting to see what their roles are going to be exactly when they do come over to the Nets. You're now talking about a little bit more defense, which is something that I think could help a lot, especially with a healthy Kevin Durant, who that could go out into a game, put up 40 with ease. In general, I mean, Ben Simmons is going to be another guy that, despite the fact that he's not a good offensive player, defensively, he's still going to lock it down. I think it's a little bit hard to say that I feel confident to see this team making a deep postseason run, and that's a lot of that has to do with the fact that Kevin Durant is just consistently not healthy and he's always dealing with injury. But I will be interesting to see what other moves they make. You mentioned that how you think they might be able to make another move. It'd be interesting to see what direction they go in, whether they're trying to completely rebuild the team that's already there, which I think would be really weird considering they are sitting in the 4th seed, or if they are going to try maybe going out, not get a superstar necessarily, but get a star that's going to be able to sit under KD respectfully, but also go out there and put up 20 points, 15 to 20 points a game.
Well, I also think the only way they'll go on a full rebuild mode is if KD just requests to get traded again. This has already happened one time. And with the West being wide open, if they end up trading him to a Western team, okay, they might get 5 picks, 5 role players. They might pull off another Rudy Gobert. So I think the Nets are going to be sitting fine just for now. What's your reaction to that? If the Suns, who have been in talks, say, here's 4 picks, here's Bridges, Cam Johnson, and DA, like, how are the Nets turning that down? I really think the Nets are going to be fine. Spencer Dinwiddie, who a couple years ago in Brooklyn took this team to the playoffs. Dinwiddie is still 18 points per game. Dorian Finney-Smith, that's a solid 3-and-D player. I still like this Nets team.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the team.
I'll go back to that question about the Suns. You think the Suns are going to make a move like that?
So Suns hottest team in basketball right now. One of the hottest teams, right under the Milwaukee Bucks. They're 8-2 in the last 10 games. I don't know. It's a little bit difficult for me to feel confident that the Suns would go out and get KD in a big time deal right now. I'd like the idea of having Kevin Durant come play in Phoenix. Only issue is that the Suns, I feel like, aren't willing to give up what the Brooklyn Nets are asking for in a situation like this. I know it's halfway through the season. If you're talking very early on in the season during the offseason, that was a completely different story. It looks like the Nets aren't going to really back down from their asking price that they had earlier on. Again, like I said, I'd love to see Kevin Durant in a Phoenix Suns jersey, but I'm not sure if I mentioned this on the show. I think when it comes to the trade deadline on the Phoenix Suns this year, They're not. I don't think they're going to be making any moves because I feel like James Jones, Monty Williams, that organization has trust in the roster the starting five they have right now. So there's no need to really build off that, especially since all. I mean, not all five. Four of them have seen consistent time out with injury this year. You see them starting to actually build back. They're starting to get their starting lineup back. They're still at Devin Booker, but the fact that they've gone 8-2 without Devin Booker in the past 10 games with a healthy rest of that team, I think it makes it a little more difficult to really put an emphasis on trying to go out and get Kevin Durant for those big time numbers, those big time trades. If you're talking just looking strictly at more on the draft side and trying getting big draft picks into the hands of the Brooklyn Nets with maybe the addition of somebody like Cam Johnson and maybe Torrey Craig or Dario Saric, something like that. I think that'd be a lot more manageable for a team like Phoenix, but you know that the Nets aren't going to be asking for that. They're going to be wanting at least two of those starters. One of those starters would have to either be DeAndre Ayton or Mikal Bridges. Ayton, I'm on the fence with, honestly. I think he's shown that he can do good. It's just hard. I
Hey,
think
how
we're
good
seeing.
has Bridges been lately?
Yeah, Bridges has been good. I don't know if I'm willing to say he was snubbed of an all-star spot, but I think there's an argument to be made there. With Ayton, I think we're seeing the peak that he's shown. I just in general, I don't think this is a team that's going to be giving up what Brooklyn wants. I don't see Kevin Durant going to the Phoenix Suns as much as I'd like to see it. In a perfect world, it'd be great. Uh, but just in general, I think Kevin Durant's going to stay there, and I don't think the Nets are going to really get anything past the second round.
I actually really like that take. I'll throw another question at you. It's pretty simple. Fans like to do this, but who won this trade, Cade?
Uh, I mean, on paper, you got to go with the Dallas Mavericks. You're talking about stats. You're talking about overall ability to play. Kyrie Irving obviously is the best player in this trade. It makes sense for the Mavericks to win this, especially when you look at the unconditional draft picks that they're giving up for this, a 2029 first rounder, a 2027 and 2029 first rounder. Like that's so far in advance that you don't really know what to expect with those draft picks now. Like, I mean, if there was like next year or this upcoming draft, next year's draft, different story. I think you might have an argument to make with Brooklyn winning this trade. But right now, with the draft picks being so far out, getting Markieff Morris and Kyrie Irving, I think that you're realistically looking at is trading 2 for 2 right now. And as of now, Kyrie's the better player. Got to give it to Dallas.
I'll say this. If the Nets pull off another trade and they pull off like, an OG or Fred VanVleet, or I don't know if they, I don't know how many big guys are on the market, Vucevic or something like that. I will say this. I think the Nets will have won this trade and won the trade deadline, even though, like you said, this is a rare instance where a star wasn't traded in return for a star, but let's not forget that Kyrie is not, a star that everyone's trying to get at. So I think for me, I'm gonna go with the Nets on this one. I think the Nets won this trade at the end of the day. Maybe not right now. Maybe in a week they don't make any moves, and in a couple months the Mavs are in the finals. But I'm expecting the Nets to do something. So I think for now I'll say they won this trade.
Yeah, I could understand that. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Bringing this to my Lakers. Bringing this to my Lakers.
Well, also, real quick, I will say this too.
Okay,
We've seen trade deadline trades before, especially between two superstars. We saw Ben Simmons, James Harden last year. You could make the argument it didn't work out for both teams. So, I mean, you never know how this could possibly work out, especially because that trade incorporated a Nets player as well. But yeah, okay, go back to your Lakers, Danny. Let's hear it.
Hey, I know Laker fans really wanted Kai. The problem I had with if the Lakers pulled off this Kyrie trade, that would mean Kyrie's the third option. I don't know how many times Kyrie is gonna want to be a third option in an offense with LeBron, Anthony Davis. I really do think if Pelinka can pull off Fred VanVleet or Zach LaVine, I know. Shout out to Adam. He tweeted out that the Bulls are done taking calls for Westbrook. You really never know. There could be a 3-team trade. I'm not giving out hope just yet on LaVine. But if it's OG or Fred VanVleet, I'm taking those guys over Kyrie 7 days out of the week. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I guess it kind of sounds like one because Kyrie superstar, elite layup package, best handles in the league. But when it comes to a third option, Cade, I think Levine or Fred VanVleet, someone who's gonna play hard every night, is gonna be okay with being a third option and not too much pressure. Whereas Kyrie, I don't know, if he was on the Lakers, I think there would have been problems with who's getting the ball in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I could see that. I think that'd be difficult too because you see the Lakers, they're one of those teams that consistently deal with injuries. So Kyrie might be the three, but realistically, how often would he be the
Mm,
three? You would look at him and
I know what
probably
you
leave
mean.
at two every once in a while. But I do also agree with the logic. You go for somebody like Zach LaVine, Fred VanVleet, who that they would be going there because the teams they're playing for right now aren't doing hot. There's a higher chance of winning a championship with the Lakers, despite the fact that they're currently sitting at 13th in the West, 12th or 13th. I think it might be 12th actually. They might have the interest in taking that third spot, but they're doing it, I feel like, almost more in a short-term mindset. I don't think Fred VanVleet and Levine would want to stay with the Lakers if they knew they were going to be that third overall player for that time and a Lakers jersey. So I think that would obviously be a big addition to your team. I think it'd be a big addition to the Lakers, especially a Lakers team that I can't remember as of now. I mean, I think they're 3.5 out of not a locked in playoff spot. It's with they are 13th in the West. My bad. Yeah, I mean they're 2 games out from a play-in. They're 3 games out from the sixth overall seed. So a player like that could definitely boost their odds. I think you could make the argument that, and actually a pretty good argument too, that if Levine and VanVleet go to the Lakers, they're easily looking at a play-in spot, knowing that Utah I don't think is going to get that. I mean, Minnesota's been so inconsistent. I don't know, but I think if you're a Lakers fan, those are the 2 players that you want to go after, as you mentioned. I think finding a solid point guard is exactly what the Lakers are going to need. And I think those are the 2 guys that really are going to be open to the outside of Kyrie, obviously, but those are the 2 guys that are going to be on that open market that might have something available for those 2 teams. I'm trying to think of other players off the top of my head that might be. I know Mike Conley was one of those guys that the Clippers were invested in.
Lakers also interested now.
Yeah, exactly. So Lakers are a possibility. I wouldn't be surprised if you see maybe in a situation with the Clippers, maybe John Wall going to the Lakers because it doesn't seem like the Clippers are really invested in him, despite the fact, I mean, they just got him, but they don't really seem that invested. Yeah, I think those are really going to be the only other guys that I could see it happening with. Yeah, I think those are the only other 2 guys outside of Van Vliet and Levine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm glad you agree. Yeah. Okay. I see you, Cade. Okay.
I'll say I'm trying to think about maybe somebody else. I really don't see it happen. I mean, I know Bogdanovich out of you were talking about Bogdanovich with the
It looks
Pistons.
like the Pistons are saying he's untradeable.
Oh, okay, yeah. The Pistons are doing so good that he's untradeable. That makes perfect sense. I mean, I think anything could really help.
Seriously.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think anything could help the Pistons. Yeah, they're sitting at 14-40. He's a real big asset to that team.
Hey,
If he
can we
wasn't,
talk about how teams, for some reason, Kate? I feel like we've been on this. We've been on this early, but why are teams not tanking for Victor yet? I mean, I know this is
I
a
think
tangent, but how are the Pistons not saying, "Yeah, take Bogdanovich. We want to make sure we have the best odds for Victor."
Yeah, I don't get that. I also don't think that, like, you look at San Antonio, a team that was very open to trade or tanking for him. They're sitting at 14th in the West, right in front of the Houston Rockets. So unless you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, living in Texas and following basketball is tough. I don't know. Like,
Hey,
I agree though. I think you look at these teams. I mean, it's gonna be weird to see because there's some teams in here that I feel like should definitely be taking from. Orlando's 13th in the West, but they're pretty far above Detroit.
Orlando's probably tough.
What do you mean? Just to like
Like
for
I don't think they'll be able to tank for that low of a pick. There's just teams are just so much worse, and this Magic team is playing tough. Like
yeah,
they're
no,
playing
they
tough right now.
are.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think if you're Orlando, you want to tank for him. So you have the team as of now to tank for him. Other than having Paolo on that team, who's putting up Rookie of the Year numbers. it's a possibility. I mean, I guess the way like Charlotte's doing better or Charlotte's doing worse than Orlando. Charlotte's doing significantly worse than Orlando. I feel like Charlotte should be a team that's up there. The fact that Charlotte's tanking that hard, I feel like Orlando could do way worse than Charlotte.
That's funny to sound like they want to tank, but I'll bring other teams that I'm surprised that haven't pulled the trigger on. Just tanking at this trade deadline. Taking what Russell Westbrook for half the season. The Spurs. I mean, what are they playing for? Podol is on the trade block for them, and the Rockets have just been dysfunctional. So especially same with the Jazz. I'll throw the Jazz out there, who they're 500 right now. They're probably not going to get a top pick, but I mean, what are they playing for, really? Just a couple teams to throw out there, because Victor, I threw out this take last show or a couple shows ago. If we're talking, in 2 years or next year, I'm starting a team. Top 5 players I want. I think it's Luka. I think it's Tatum. I think it's Victor. Okay, you got 2 more? Maybe Giannis.
Giannis, yeah. Wait, say
There's
that
not
one more
too
time.
many.
I'm sorry.
Okay, if I'm starting a team next year, the 5 players I want, it's Luka, Giannis.
Okay,
I'm
Luka,
throwing Victor in
Giannis,
there,
yeah,
and Tatum.
Victor, Tatum, no KD.
No, starting a team next year, KD, he's maybe a little bit too old. I'll throw in Jokic in there as well.
Jokic, okay, I could see that. I'd be willing to throw Steph in there. I mean, he's not losing, he's not leaving the Warriors, but that's a guy you'd want to build around, obviously.
He's too old. I think I'd rather build around Victor.
I don't know. I like it, because if you're talking 4 years, I think Steph Curry's got it for another 4 years. So I think right now I'd rather have Steph over Victor. I just think it depends on where you're putting Steph as well and how far back you are. It's so I could see. I mean, yeah, Victor would be the obvious answer if you're trying to build from scratch from the very bottom. But if you're talking about bringing in a guy from any other team, I don't think I'd have an issue bringing in Steph just because he's going to be that team leader. And even though he might not perform as well since he's a smaller guy, he's a shooter. I still think that's a guy that I would have on my team as a possible what's the word? Yeah, just a possible guy to build around. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, and even actually, real quick, this Oklahoma City is a team that you think would be tanking, but I honestly think Oklahoma City might be a team that if they want to make some trades here at the trade deadline, they can definitely make that happen, and they can find themselves in a position to make the playoffs.
Oh yeah, that's another point that they don't even have Chet. Chet's coming back next year. They have a boatload of picks. I mean, Shea is playing out of his mind. I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a move. Try and get in the playoffs. Just build some hope for the future for that franchise. I would hate for them to trade another piece and just get more picks heading into the offseason.
Yeah, exactly. I would hate that as well. I think Oklahoma City is a team that is moving in the right direction. I think they could be a legit playoff team within the next year and a half, 2 years, in my opinion. Maybe next trade deadline, somewhere around there. But I mean, I think the West is going to benefit the most from the trade deadline. I'll leave it at that. You have 13 teams realistically playing for a playoff spot right now. You can obviously make the argument that teams are going to have their spot locked in by the time April comes around, but you obviously you're looking at 13 through 3 possibility being all jumbled up, mixed around, anything. So I think the West you're going to see a lot more moves going from teams going to the West, players going to the West, players moving around in the West. It's going to be crazy next few months, especially after the trade deadline, All-Star break coming up, all of that stuff. It's going to be good. That's all I'm going to say about the trade deadline. We've already seen some big trades. It's going to continue. Danny, you want to move over to the Magic Wolves brawl that we had a few nights ago?
Yeah, you can start it off with that.
Honestly, real quick, I got to ask, do you know what it was about? Because I know Mo Bamba was talking to Austin Rivers all night. But then, as mentioned, I feel like it was one of those brawls that we hadn't seen since Ben Simmons was choking out Karl Anthony Towns in that Sixers Wolves. Oh, yeah, that's another one, too. Another Wolves fight. But that Sixers Wolves fight a few years back. Just a good fight in general. What can I say?
I mean, this was, between two teams you won't really expect to be just throwing hands. Mo Bamba's been suspended 4 games. Austin Rivers has been suspended 3 games. Jalen Suggs got a 1 game suspension. But I don't know. I'm bringing I'm using this to say I kind of like where the Magic are going. Kind of standing up for their guys. I know that this is not the way you want to do it, but I really like where this Magic team is going. I think they have some good. I don't know. I don't know if this is a good way to put it, but like it shows that they have some good team chemistry, right, Kate? Like going into the future, this team
Yeah,
is together. They're young. I think they all kind of relate together. And Terrence Ross, as your veteran, I think he's like one of the like for some reason he seems like a good veteran to lead a young team. I'm not saying they're anything good. Terrence Ross is anything special, but he's on his streams playing 2K. He's able to relate with these young guys. I don't know. I like where this team is going. I kind of like the. I don't want to say I liked the fight, but it's like I liked what it meant for this team, if that makes sense.
no, I agree. I think from what we've seen out of this Magic team since the pretty much the draft last year, they've been a scrappy team, but I think that's what's been getting them wins. I think they're going to be a really cohesive unit within the next few years if they continue to keep those key pieces to that team and maybe bring in some other guys that are going to be like real good team members right there. Uh, Austin Rivers later on going on to a Snapchat story saying, "Buddy, I wanted you 1-on-5 with no backup. You needed your teammates, otherwise you would have been clocked out. I don't know. He spelled it wrong. I don't know what he was trying to say. Talking about find out. We only know you from an old rap song, No Hoops. Shut the F up. And Orlando, my city, ask around and actually find out. They don't mess with you. They are facts. So I mean, Austin obviously taking it to heart that he got beat, but that's what's gonna happen.
He took a 1-on-3. I'm not gonna clown on Rivers. I think Rivers is just a punching bag in the league. I mean, he's had a great career in the league, and people just like to clown on him. But yeah, Rivers said he's not gonna snitch and say what Mo Bamba said, but he didn't like how they reacted to like when he missed a 3, they said something to him. He didn't like that, and it just escalated out of that. But hey, NBA is kind of turning up. Kate, I think it was last week. Dylan Brooks and Mitchell got at it too, or 2 weeks ago maybe.
Wait, who say that? Who got at it?
Dylan Brooks and Donovan Mitchell got into a little tussle.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, you know what? No, I remember that. It wasn't
Yeah,
anything too crazy, but they definitely started getting into it. Yeah.
I mean Mitchell. I mean Brooks. Elbowed him below the waist, and Mitchell shoved him. Brooks eventually got a suspension. So this league is it's getting a little chippy. Playoff basketball is around the corner. I can't
Oh
wait.
yeah. No, I think they're ready for the All Star break. But yeah, it's
Ooh.
funny to see that. I mean, it I think the Rivers family has been a punching bag in this league. You look at Austin Rivers, how he's pretty much just been a journeyman and hasn't had a real role. You look at Doc Rivers and the fact that you have somebody like Paul George who dates his daughter and then cheats on her and then has to end up playing for Doc Rivers later on in his career. That was
That is
bad.
a crazy storyline. It sounds like out of a movie, bro.
God, I know it was bad, but at the same time, yeah, hey, maybe that is a Hollywood script one day. We'll have to see, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's if we can just get it up and say that family is a punching bag in the league at this point. But Danny, you want to switch it over to fit of the week now?
Yeah, sounds good. Hey, I'll say this real quick, Kate. All-Star weekend approaching. We got a lot to talk about with deadline. We're gonna mid-season awards. I can't wait. Second half of the year for the NBA is really when the season starts for me.
Oh yeah, no, I mean that's when the playoffs really start coming into place. It's a good time of the year, but yeah, I think maybe we'll get some good Jared Allen fits in the All Star break like we saw last year. But yeah, for fit of the week, I'll go first. I'm bringing up back a guy that we haven't seen in a while. I got to go Jordan Clarkson. Bringing it back the Calgary Flames hockey jersey. Just a classic cargo pants, just khaki cargo pants, and then your shoe of the year, the just classic white Air Force Ones. A very simple, classic look, but works out well.
Okay. Hey, Kate, what's going on with your Instagram? It's still hacked?
No, I actually bought a new house.
Come on, bro. You can't get your account back, so Instagram's lagging that bad?
Oh no, Instagram's terrible about it. I'm never getting that account back. I'm just hoping that it gets taken down, and
Really?
that's
You
about it.
don't think you'll get it back? How's that
No,
possible? Like, you can't just
I
change the password accounts? Like, it's like your email's hacked, or like they changed emails or something?
no, I don't know. Well, no, they did change my email. Yeah, so I have no access to it. But I've talked to I've tried reaching out to Instagram, and they just ignore me every time. So I'm like, I'm just giving it up. I don't even care at this point. I'll make a new one at some point, but
That's so tough. That's so annoying.
yeah, it's I hate it. But what can you
All
do?
right.
I wasn't really committed to that one, but
That's true.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I don't even use Instagram too much. But for my fit of the week, hey Cade, last week by the way, I'm on the scoreboard coming back. I'm going with Jordan Clarkson because the fall is ending. So that means hockey jerseys are going to be out of style soon. So I got to squeeze one in there.
that's one I just
JC,
did.
you just pulled that one up. You're
Yeah,
lying.
yeah.
My bad. I wasn't really listening, bro. I was looking for a fit of the week. I wasn't
No, you're
prepared.
good. You're good. You're good. That's
Okay.
funny though.
Okay, in that case, I'll go with another one that caught my eye. Jordan Poole. Simple fit, Kate. I'm just gonna go simple because that's what worked for me last week, and D Book got me the dub. So in this fit, beanie season's ending here in Phoenix, so I'm gonna pull out a couple more winter fits for my fit of the week. He's just layering the flannel with the hoodie. Um, and trainers down low. Simple fit, athleisure, looks fire. Anyone can wear this. Those are the fits that I like the best.
Yeah, no, it's simple. I can't go. I'm not a huge fan of flannels, but can't go wrong with it. Yeah, so head over to our socials, Instagram, Twitter, vote for our week 10. We got to week 10 fit of the week. And of course, we'll have to put something. I keep saying this every week. We'll put something out to have people vote on what we're going to have as a punishment at some point. You might come back in this. We'll have to see. But yeah, we'll just have to see how that goes. But now we're going to go over to something we haven't done in a while. We're going to do Copper Drop for the first time. God, how long do you think it's been? I think the last time we did this was the holiday season, which was, I think, we probably did this back in October, maybe early November, long time ago. But of course, February having a sneaky good rotation when it comes to the sneakers app and Nike in general. Danny, first off, were there any big drops that you see coming up that are just anything big that really stands out to you?
Nothing too big. I mean, yeah, I can't really, they got some dunks going on. Valentine's Day, usually they get creative with some drops, and there are some good Valentine's shoes, but nothing, that I would say is like a must cop this month, unless you found something.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's anything that I'm like gonna die for, like if I don't get or whatnot. The one thing I did think that stands out real quick. Obviously, we've seen the transition of Nike trying to bring back or re-retro some of those older sneakers, those older hooping shoes, and the fact that they're bringing out the KD3 was something
I
that
saw
caught
that
my eye.
actually.
I was gonna say it's honestly it's not a terrible look. It looks like almost any like early signature shoe from the early 2010s, like something like that. I mean, it looks very similar to like a LeBron shoe, like the LeBron nines and whatnot. But that is something I saw. I think that's interesting. But just in general, I mean, I think as I mentioned, February kind of sneaky with their with their drops, especially after this. I mean, really good holiday season. So, I'll just start off. I'll go with the most recently February 7th. The general purpose shoe, Tom Sachs, Nike Craft, they're going to be releasing a new one. And this one, I really like the colorway. It's literally like just a chocolate. They call it just brown, chocolate brown. Overall, a great look in my opinion. Can't go wrong with it. Danny, how you feeling about those?
I feel like you really can't go wrong with any of these. I like the brown, the dark colors on this month. We've talked about how these Tom Sachs general purpose shoes, they're supposed to get beat. Yours are destroyed, Cade, right?
Oh
Um,
no,
and,
yeah,
and
no, I
you
took them to Zona and they were beat since.
and the funny thing, we've talked about this before, is that's kind of what makes these shoes look better, gives them character, gives them some life. So I would say these are a cop for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think just in general, I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan of how dark of a brown it is, but brown is such a good color to style right now. It looks good. Obviously, it's a very just unique, interesting colorway. The one thing I don't like about it is since it is a pretty dark color, that like the reason I like mine are because it's not white, but it's almost that beige upper. Which when you take it out, when you start wearing them, they're going to get beat, and it's going to be obvious that it's beat. With these, you're going to see that, but it's not as consistent as you would see with some of those lighter colorways. That's the one thing I dislike about it, but in general, I'm still a fan of it. I'm still a fan of the way it looks. The silhouette in general is a great silhouette. It's a sturdy, durable silhouette, so I like that. Danny, you want to hit us with the next one?
Should we get into the Valentine's releases?
Yeah, why not? Let's do it.
Okay, this is pretty simple. You know, they didn't get creative with it, but the Nike Dunk Low Valentine's Day dropping February 5th. You know, Nike's not bringing out remember a couple years ago, what were those dunks called? The Star Love? I forgot what they were called, Kate.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Let me keep talking. I'll look them up real quick.
Okay, so for me, I think these are I don't know. I'm gonna go drop with these. I'm not really a fan of the color blocking with the maroon on on the toe box and then the white. Maybe if they flipped it, it would look better to me. The pink swoosh does go well with the maroon around the shoe, but I'm not too hyped for these shoes. These aren't. I'm not waking up early for these. In my opinion.
Hey, real quick, are you talking about the Strange Love?
Strange Love, man,
Yeah.
those have to be like the best Valentine's drop of all time.
Oh yeah, easily. Those were great. I think those are one of those easily one of the better dunks they've had. With these, I'm actually not a huge. I don't dislike them. I think the colorway is nice. It's a little more subtle compared to like some of the other Valentine's Day drops they had. Like I remember 2-3 years back, how you had the Air Forces and Air Maxes that were just like either primarily pink. They had a little love note on the tongue of the shoe, which I actually thought was a pretty cool, little cool addition to it. But these are a little bit more subtle. They're not necessarily screaming Valentine's Day, but overall, I mean, I'm a fan of the look. I think it kind of nails the idea well, and I also think it matches this time of year well. I agree. I don't think this is something that I would necessarily get up early for, but if I wake up at my normal time and they have some in my size left over, I might grab one, just to check it out.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right. Do you want to hit the oil green fours, or should we go past those? Because I mean, they only go up to size 12. So,
Yeah, women's release. We could hit. We could hit it real quick. I'm gonna go drop Kane. I really don't want them to ruin the fours. I don't want them to overdo the fours and put out 3 pairs of releases on the fours every month. Probably one of my favorite retro Jordan silhouettes. So I'm gonna go drop on these. Just nothing special. I guess it's a cool color green, but I don't know. I'm not dropping 225 whatever it is on these.
yeah, 200 for these. I wouldn't drop 200 on these. I like how simple it is. You're pretty much just taking the fire reds, changing the red to that like almost olive green kind of color. Not a terrible look, but it's not something that I would be rushing to get in my collection. So I agree. I don't think I'd get these. Let's do the KD3, the Zoom KD3. Obviously a basketball shoe. It's a hooping shoe. But Danny, would you get these? I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about these.
I think these are a cop. For a hoop shoe. I'm not wearing these outside of the courts for sure. But I'm not too familiar with like the old KD colorways, but this is a colorway that I think it looks pretty cool. It looks like it's from the 2000s, which you'll be able to tell it's a throwback shoe. I'm gonna go cop on these. Low top. I don't know. Maybe it kind of looks like a low top. It might be mid top. KD,
I'd say these are a little bit closer to it's a weird mix. I'd say it's a low top though.
Okay, yeah, I don't rock. Never mind. I'm not a big fan of low top basketball shoes, so I'll go drop on these. But colorway execution, I think it looks fire.
I'll say this: if the price was higher, I'd definitely say drop. But for 130 for a retro basketball sneaker, that's a good price. Like, I mean, and you're going out there, if you're playing, you're styling these, like it's a good shoe to pick up. I don't know, again, like I said, the performance side of it, but I mean, I definitely hoop in these for 130. That's a steal in my opinion. I'm going cop on these. I mean, just based off the price and the actual aesthetic of the shoe, it's like overall, I like it a lot. So I can't complain. I'm going cop.
Good point on that. 130, you can't really beat that price.
Yeah, exactly. Especially for I mean, you're talking about retroing a KD3, which I don't know the hype around KD3s. But it's a re-retro, and for 130, that's what you see a lot of basketball shoes going for now. Decent, good shoes. So yeah, I got to go cop with those. It's a good looking shoe. I can't complain.
Fair enough. My next shoe I'll bring up is the Air Jordan 1 High 85, black and white, keeping it simple. Just black and white colorway. It looks like they're bringing back the High 85 cuts after we saw them do that with the Chicago's. I do like that, but for these shoes, I don't know. It's giving me Panda vibes, Cade.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go drop on these.
Yeah, the
And
Panda
hold
dunks
on,
ruined it.
one thing, Cade. The Air Jordan ones are retailing for 200. I think it was just last year they went up to 170. Where's the $30 increase coming from? Why is it
Yeah, I don't
200
know.
now?
It better be like some of that tumbled leather that we've seen on the shattered backboards. Because, like, yeah, it's definitely the Panda dunks ruined that colorway for me. I actually like the look a lot, but I'm just not a fan. I don't know. That's overall really, really good looking Jordan 1, especially in the 85 cut. You can't go wrong with that. The only thing that I think would make these better is if you switch out the black laces for like maybe some like big like cream color laces. I don't know. I'm so on the fence about these. I would have to go. I'd say cop. I hate the Panda dunks, but these aren't dunks. These are Air Jordan 1. So I'm going cop with these.
Top three shoes we hate should be a segment because I already know you're number one.
Yeah, exactly. No, there's a few that are like I've got two on my list already that I'm just like already I'm heated about them. I hate them. I'm just not a huge fan. I don't know. The, there's two shoes that are consistently worn that we'll do that make this a segment. So that's why I'm not going to say it. But there are
Okay.
two shoes that are consistently worn that bother me so much. So yeah, we'll make that a segment. We're gonna skip ahead to February 18th. A Jordan 13, something we don't see too often in the playoff colorway, classic colorway. But Danny, for me the 13s ruin it. What about you? How you feeling?
The playoffs. Let me pull. Yeah, no. These look like bricks. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
exactly.
I'm going to drop on these.
Yeah, I am too. I'm not just 13. The silhouette of a 13 in general is really not the great silhouette. I don't know why Nike tries pushing those out too hard. I mean, you've seen it with the Flint 13s. You've seen it with some of the
Whoa,
other
whoa, whoa!
the
Let's not
maroons.
disrespect the Flints.
I
I feel
mean,
like these 13 playoffs. It just looks like a cheap shoe. Like the leather looks cheap just from
oh
looking at pictures right now.
yeah, no, I agree.
I hate the Jordan on the tongue. It looks god awful.
Hmm. Yeah, and no, I'm not trashing on the Flints necessarily. Like that's the best colorway of the 13s. I just think the 13 in general is such a tough shoe to wear. That's all I'm saying about that. Oh, it's not a bad shoe. It's I don't know, just not a huge fan of the shoe. Uh, I mean that there's one
I'll
more if
throw.
you want to talk about it. The Air Jordan 6 Cool Grays. Again, the sixes getting some conversation, some love. How you feeling about those?
I don't know. These are a nice shoe. These are a clean shoe. Just not my style. Not something I would rock with. I don't. Yeah, I think these are a drop for me. I like the icy bottoms. It looks like a clean shoe. The quality looks fine. I'm a fan of the sixes. I definitely want to get. I regret selling my infrared sixes. I need to buy those back. But the cool grade sixes, they're not going to be in my collection.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a huge fan of them. I'm trying to think. Again, sixes. Again, one of those Jordan colorways that I'm just not a huge fan of. I don't think they're the best look. Was there anything I missed that you wanted to talk on a little bit?
I'll throw out, just because dunks are super popular. What's your opinion on the Nike Dunk Low reverse Brazils? I know the Brazils released 2 years ago, 3 years ago. For me, I think I like the original Brazils way more than the reverses. I'm gonna go drop on these. I like the yellow and green colorway, but I don't know. Something feels off with like the green bottoms and the yellow swoosh. It just doesn't look right to me.
Yeah, let me check these out real quick. Not a terrible look, but green like that green and yellow is already pretty difficult to rock, and I just think
Yeah.
the emphasis on the yellow here, I'm not a huge fan of. So I don't know if I'd say I'm a get these. Not a terrible look, just not my favorite in general. I'm not a huge fan of the normal Brazil dunks either. But it could be a lot worse. So that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, not
Danny,
not the
we'll leave it at
hottest
that.
month for not the hottest month for sneaker releases in March though, Cade. The three reimagined, the Air Jordan, what are they, I forgot what it's called now. Now I'm blanking on the name. The reimagined threes retroing
Uh,
March 11th, something like that. I'm hyped for those. That's all I can say. March is gonna be a
okay,
good
hold
month.
up. Yeah, no, March is that's
White cement reimagined.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Those are good. I'll say usually March is the month that things start kind of coming back together, just because that's when you have Air Max Day, so you're going to be getting good Air Max drops. Even though Air Max is, I feel like, lost the emphasis they used to have.
Yeah.
March is a good time.
I
That's
think the Jaw ones are also releasing in March. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
okay, that'll be
Yeah.
nice. I mean, we'll have to see how those turn out, but yeah, I think March is that good time because March is that like time for sneakers that right before summer. That's when you start seeing that. That's the last time before summer that you actually get some good drops, and nothing in April, but like by end of May. I mean, end of May was when they released the Chunky Duckies back in 2020. End of May is when you're going to start seeing some really good summer releases, and that's what we're excited about. But Jenny, you got anything else for today?
No, I don't think
All
so.
right.
Hey, Levine to the Lakers, lock it up.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll have to see how that plays out. Trade deadline is February 9th, so we only got 4 more days. We'll definitely have some topic and discussion about that. But once again, we thank you guys so much for joining us today. Make sure you hop over to social media at 94 Feet Show. Vote for Fit of the Week. That's on Instagram and Twitter. Look at our TikToks a little bit. We'll get a poll out for what punishment we should have at the end of the season. Maybe we'll do the same thing last year. Maybe we'll mix it up. Who knows? But as mentioned, once again, we thank you guys so much for joining us. Make the best out of your week. And hey, it's the Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl week, so have some fun watching some good football within the next few days.
Yes, sir. Kate, what are you doing for the Super Bowl, Kate? You working?
I actually think I have a friend coming up from Tucson, so we're gonna check out some of the Super Bowl experience stuff around Phoenix, and then I know they're doing a watch party. What?
Have you been to any of that this weekend?
No, not yet. I should have, since it was only $20, but I was just gonna wait it out for this upcoming weekend. But yeah, it should be good. And then they got the watch party over at Hans Park, so I think I'm going to go check that out and then go from there. What about you? You got anything?
I think I want to do Hans Park too. That seems pretty cool. Like they're gonna have the whole showing there. I think that might be the move.
A giant watch party.
And apparently, like you can just walk around with beer. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
free event, chill. It's pretty relaxed. So no, definitely worth checking out. So no, I think that's my plan though. I don't know. We'll see how my friends feel when he gets up here. Dwayne, if you're watching, you know what's going to happen. If you know what's going to happen. But all right. But that's it. Like I said, thank you so much for joining. Have a fantastic week, and as usual, we'll see you next time.